is April 13, 2023. Another hectic day. Dealing with the riffraff. I start playing my tapes and it makes people scatter when they realize everything was photoshopped before. People need to realize how not funny this is. And then seeing the big truck guys out and then a couple of race cars, the drug dealers are still looking for Will. You do realize that he knew as an agent that even he couldn't be in my home outside a protected life case with statement. They have to study the law to become an agent. Where the cops laugh at this, that even the FBI couldn't be in your home outside a protected life case. He knew that. His job is to enforce the Constitution. He knew that. And he knew he couldn't bully me on the phone. And he would go to jail for that. And he knew it wouldn't stand up. Where did you know if there was a camera above you? I don't know. Well, if you didn't know there's a camera, you either say you're lying, I'll put you in jail. Blah, 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 blah. You either say it or arrest you. Well, no coerced confession is admissible. He goes to jail for that. So that his cover of being a corrupt agent to infiltrate the gang, there's no way the FBI would ever back him using an informant to infiltrate a gang. That he would let them rape her, torture her, beat her, and act like he is in debt to them, and abuse her, human traffic people out of this area, and him act like a pimp, and that he will let them do crimes and excuse them because he is stealing her informant money to pay them back. They would never allow that. Now, if he went in as another drug trader or pimp with other agents for a cover, that would be one thing. But they would never condone him hurting victims. They would never condone him bullying me on the phone into false statements. They would never condone him stealing the informant money. And they would never allow him to allow the bad guys to harm the informant. Ever. He will go to jail for this. They would never, and he knew that he couldn't even be in my home. And that it wouldn't be admissible. He had to study the law to be an agent. Okay? So if he was saying that he was part of this gang before, where the churches took up the $25,000 to hire men to murder me, and they were part of vandalizing my property. He was part of them kicking in my door, and then he was part of them date rape drugging me, leaving hand marks in bed in my arm, giant bruises all over me. They were raping me. Before, where they said that where I had the bruises and stuff, they were human trafficking me to Steve. He didn't stop it being an FBI agent. And all I knew is I had bruises. I was throwing up. I had sex with Dave all the time, so I didn't know he was raping me. He was letting a serial rapist rape me. And drugging the hell out of me. And I was throwing up like crazy and almost passing out in front of people and didn't know why I was so sick. But he was allowing, and if he was beating on me, why wasn't I waking up and I couldn't figure out where I was getting all these bruises, and everybody was seeing him and seeing all this happening to me and not knowing why all this was happening. And he knew all this was happening, and he didn't stop it, and had the Detroit boys doing it to me. And he knew about the photoshopping of a shower scene. Then he had Terry's phone call at the church is taking up $25,000 because Ron wanted me dead. He had Dave bragging that his girlfriend's family was rich and powerful and her family owned the police, that him and Jack had a plan since March, and that Dave hired murderers, and that Katie's church said that they were going to have me killed, and 3 witnesses, and the Detroit boys' kidnapper at Huntington Bank. And he purposely let him go. Choose his words carefully. That he was purposely setting this up to defraud the government so that he could pretend to go be in debt to those drug dealers so that he could be a bad boy, smoke pot, have sex with prostitutes for 4 years and do drugs with them and human traffic people and be a bad boy for 4 years. And he could sit and be a criminal for 4 years and get paid by the government. And let them hurt the informant, let them human traffic people out of the area. Because I'll tell you what, and this is where it's going to go to the Department of Justice and FBI headquarters. He could have solved the case in the first month. The first day, he had the Detroit boys kidnapper at Huntington Bank. Okay, he could have got a video of him. He could have found him. Okay, on the first day he talked to me. He could have solved the one girl at my second job. That is her. They took her family member and killed her. Bragged and laughed in her face how they killed her. The murder of that girl that had died. They had already took her and killed her and laughed in her face. They could have solved that murder. They purposely let it go. All right, and that would have stopped anybody else from being taken in this area. The Kingsmen were already here. I had a 2 long mile brigade of Detroit boys, people from Florida, and the Kingsmen here. He could have had other agents from out of the area come in, did like a SWAT thing and grabbed him. He had them all around me, and he could have grabbed him. He could have been a hero the first month and nipped this like crazy and probably grabbed hundreds of them here. And he didn't do it. Dear God, even Henry Maffei, one of the main guys, was here in Louisville in the bars. And he didn't get him. He didn't get the Detroit boys out of the bars, and he didn't get the drug traders. He waited 4 years to get them. He purposely sat back and lived a life of a criminal with prostitutes and acting like a badass criminal, and had a good old time at the taxpayers' expenses and let them hurt me while they stole the informant money. And the government needs to give it back to me, and they need to arrest him, because what they're saying that he was in it with the Detroit boys kicking in my door. Human trafficking me without a call. With the Detroit boys under drugs. Date rape drugging me. Photoshopping that shower scene where Eric already took the confession, where it was only supposed to be Eric and Steve doing it. From the gang. And leaving bruises. Date rape drugging me. He was letting me be raped. Innocent citizen. They photoshopped a shower scene, already admitted, confessed under tape and audio in Walmart, told other people already told on him over 10. And of the shower scene and the date rape drug confession and photoshopping everything. And that he was part of this big scam to embezzle from the government. He better choose his words carefully, and somebody needs to hide him, because that gang already knows he used them. And they have been leaving threats for months, and I don't want to even hear the threats anymore. And I can tell when people tell me under tape and audio in stores, my car's bugged from that case, and the FBI headquarters and Department of Justice would never condone any of this behavior. And he knew better. And what he's saying is he purposely set it up to defraud the taxpayers and the government, so he'd live a life of crime for 4 years on the taxpayers' dollar. Knowing that nothing would be admissible before. He knows that policing agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life. And they have to speak to everyone before they start, and he'd have to arrest him. He knows no coercive confession is admissible. You can't threaten to arrest somebody if they don't say what you want. You can't bully people into false statements. You go to jail for it. 5 to 20 years. It's battery laws. He knows that. The only thing legally he did on that phone is list me informant. And with the money of the diplomatic immunity. And then he stole the money. There's embezzlement charges. And he can't use my case to infiltrate a gang and not tell me. And then let that gang abuse me. And not hide me. There's laws against that, too. And then there's framing laws. And if he wants to say he was part of all that, so that he could live a life of a criminal and defraud the government, he better choose his words carefully, because he could have got everybody the first month. And hundreds of them.